Why this particular path, though? You could have done anything else. Why this one? Oh, you're moving away from the hedonism.
Yes, yeah, that.
So we're moving away from the hedonism, and we're on it. So do you are you like hyper aware that like you're in a moment and your life is shifting, and you're like, oh my god, I'm making a transition?
Yeah, it happened a little bit ago, but yeah.
How does it feel to be in a transition? I have a prediction about your life, but I don't know if I should say it out loud.
Go ahead, do it. Why not? Now that you said that much, you kind of have to. Now you're committed to it.
I know. How are you doing emotionally?
Pretty good. Did something happen?
Well, wait, why are you asking me that? Did something happen?
Well, I don't know. When you ask a question like that, it makes me feel like some shit's going on. Did I miss something?
Technically, no. If anything, I feel like I missed something in your life. Where I don't know. You talked to this guy the other day, Devin or something.
Uh-huh.
Now it was the cool thing to do to attack Destiny, and they took that advantage, man. Like, even people that I thought were like, I consider like acquaintances or friends of yours. And many of those people you just referenced literally started their communities on the back of it. So when you lend them your original voice, you give them your power. You absolutely can't do that.
So here's like the big shift that's happened. About 3 months ago, if you would have asked me what is the purpose of life, I think I would have said the purpose for your life. And over the past few months, my mind has kind of shifted a bit into where, does that make sense?
Bro, it makes perfect sense. I'm completely that it's your voice that's telling me this.
Yeah, pretty fucking cringe. But,
and you're on this like quasi spiritual journey, but also I feel like there's something more interesting happening, and I wanted to talk to you about that possibly interesting thing.
Sure, what's up, buddy?
Well, I guess I wanted to ask you, like, are you going through some sort of spiritual journey? Are you getting Devin's hopes up? He seemed really hopeful.
So I think there's like broadly two different ways of engaging with the world. In one sense, you've kind of got like this autistic, like, I want to see all the facts and figures and studies, blah, blah, blah. And this is how I see the world. It's how I like to engage with the world. But most people that work in or function in like political areas tend to have a more narrative view of the world. And I've always had trouble bridging that gap. Like, if you want to debate me on like women's rights or minorities or slavery or immigration or anything like this, like, okay, well, let's dig out the studies and let's get in the facts and figures. And I can do that until I'm blue in the face. And then some guy opposite me, will be like, my mother was raped and killed by an MS-13 member who was let in by Obama's own official judge or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I lost that argument. Like, I guess I lose. Like, thanks, dude. Yeah, and then it's like over. Or like, you want to legalize marijuana? My daughter was raped and murdered by a 3-time marijuana smoker that got released from federal prison when Colorado legalized marijuana. It's like, oh, okay, well, done for me. So I've been trying to figure out, it's like over the past couple of years, I've been trying to figure out like, okay, I think I said specifically, I think it was in 2020 or might have been 2021, where it's like, I need to be more narrative driven. I need to figure out how to like combine and deliver the things that I'm talking about with narratives. And I'm really bad at doing that because I don't think in narratives usually. I think just like in discrete autistic facts, rather than like a full story that gives you like context for everything start to finish. And as of recently, I got a recommendation from a friend to start reading some stupid Christianity shit. And
from C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. And in reading that, I remembered I have a whole background in Catholicism. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I went to Jesuit high school for 4 years. I have a pretty fleshed out understanding of Christianity, and I've grown since then. So since I was like, I don't know if you do this, but you have like your rage atheist phase where you're like, religion, it's all evil and horrible, blah, blah, blah. I got through that in my early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and then especially my early 30s. I'm still in my early mid 30s, I guess. Where instead of viewing things as like worse, I try to view them as different. So now kind of reopening that Christianity book, what I can see is like, oh, holy shit. Religion is like the perfect thing to take all of these autistic discrete facts and kind of organize them in a sort of 10 rules for life, to allude to the 10 commandments and Dr. Peterson. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to go back to the kind of Christianity spiritual stuff that I have. I can scrap the religious part because we don't need the theology. That's garbage. But I can take like all of the kind of like rules and the structures and the context and all of that, and I can kind of like repackage it into this like secular understanding of the world that still like is very human, because like data and figures and studies and discrete facts is a very inhuman engagement with the world, but like stories and narratives and allegories and religion and tradition and all this are very human ways of engaging the world. So that's kind of been like what I've been trying to combine over the past like month or two. And then that's ended up coming out in like my little red pill debates kind of, yeah. Sorry, there's that whole thing.
I like Passionate Destiny. This is always fun. Why? Okay, obviously we're bubble hopping right now. Like that's what you're doing, right? You're like bubble hopping. You're like hopping to Fresh and Fit's world, and then you're hopping into Abba's world, and you're hopping into your world, and you're going to the Christian bubble, and you're using their, which I love. That's why I watch so much anime. I just feel like stories tell so many good, like they challenge you in different ways. Okay, love the Bible. Grew up Catholic like you did, right? Why this particular path though? You could have done anything else. Why this one?
I just happened to make a friend who is fucking religious, and they recommended me dumb shit, and I don't read. I shouldn't say dumb shit. They recommended me C.S. Lewis, and I need to read more, and I haven't been. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like I'll start reading this, and then it just and then the like. If I would have grown up like Muslim, I probably would have gone on the Muslim spiritual arc, I guess. But because I'd grown up Catholic, it was so easy for me to reconnect with all the stuff that I already kind of like knew from the past. Like, oh shit, like this is a really easy transition, and it's like super applicable to my current like political challenges. Yeah.
And to be fair, you're not becoming religious. You're just using religion's tools to
No, it would take a radical reshaping of my mind to ever become religious again. But I can see the value in it, of course. So yeah.
Okay, now I heard you also mention possibly doing something like a news organization or a collective or something. How bored or how quick do you think you'll get bored with it all? Like, I just feel like you're gonna get bored. Is that just me?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of like dynamic stuff involved in like running big stuff.
But is it running the business or your legacy that's cool and important, or is it actually like the work you're doing?
I think the work part. I think that I think there are unique things that I can contribute to the world, and I think that I should explore those more rather than just doing video games all day. That's kind of what I'm.
Oh, you're moving away from the hedonism.
Yes. Yeah, that.
So we're moving away from the hedonism, and we're on it. So do you are you like hyper aware that like you're in a moment and your life is shifting, and you're like, oh my god, I'm making a transition?
Yeah, it happened a little bit ago, but yeah.
How does it feel to be in a transition?
Good. I always like transitions. I've always said that I'd be like really scared if I've like aged 5 years and I look back and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm the exact same as I was 5 years ago. Did something break, or am I like done growing, or am I stuck in a, I'll say bubble, not in the way that you mean it, but like in some like reinforcing bubble where we all have the same thoughts and opinions, and I've lost the ability to grow.
Not a bubble. That's exactly what I mean by bubble. Like, it's just a place where everyone kind of
that would be that would be really scary to me, especially because I'm an online streamer and it's easy for us to fall into that because you have audience capture. They can reinforce your own opinions, blah blah blah. Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry. Miss Elisa is asking what I mean when I'm saying autistic. Sorry. So like, I'm like a very much like if you were to tell me like, is this food like good or bad for you? Like, it feels like some people would ask like friends or family, and I'd be like, oh, well, let's go and look up the studies and blah, 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 blah. And like this like very like keen desire to kind of like pick apart like little facts and studies and data and kind of like assess things like that's typically how I think about the world. When I say autistic, I'm meaning it kind of half, it's not, I don't know if that's actually, I shouldn't say autistic, but versus like the more kind of like human story driven narrative stuff. That's what I'm using that juxtaposed to that. I don't mean actually super autistic. Sorry, just clearing that up. Okay, go ahead.
I like that you're reading the chat because I did not see that coming, and like she's one of my favorite commenters. Is she on your chat or my chat right now?
Oh, she's on yours. I always have everything. Open. All 5 chats are open, all at the same time.
I don't think I could. I just would get distracted, but I appreciate you answering her question. She's great. It's interesting to see this happening, but also very exciting. Of course, in my brain, I'm like, oh, what's he doing with it? Like, what are you going to do with it? But you said something in I think your conversation with Devin that made me go, oh. So there's a pattern I see in a lot of men that I always think is interesting. You said something about like legacy, or basically like helping the world, like doing something that's bigger than you, but it feels very like reputation-y. Is that am I projecting, or like am I hearing it wrong? It sounds like
that. That shit is cringe. I don't care about that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So what do you care about then?
So this is how I'm viewing it now, okay? There was an analogy that I picked up from the Mere Christianity book that I'd also heard a lot as a kid, but basically it's this idea that there's actually a lot of analogies picked up. When you engage with the world, when everybody engages with the world, I think some people have certain talents or gifts that they have through whatever, either natural, they were born a certain way, or they picked up things as they were growing up or whatever. But by the time you hit certain like points in your life, you're capable of doing things that are exceptional compared to other people. And I think before I would kind of say that like you should just pursue what makes you happy and do that. And I still think that's important. But there's like a separate category now that I didn't recognize or I didn't have language to describe before, separate from happiness, which is this concept of like fulfillment, basically. And I think that this idea of like fulfillment comes more from like pursuing to the most, like kind of some of these like natural talents that you have that you can do better than other people in society. And I think you kind of owe it to society to pursue those things. You owe it to society and owe it to yourself to like pursue those things to their fullest, because I think you can contribute like really unique things to the world that otherwise just won't exist. So for instance, if you take somebody like, wait, why do those contributions?
Yeah, like, also, is my audio shit today?
Nope, you're fine.
Weird. Everyone's telling me it's shit today, and I don't know why. Okay, you shouldn't be. Okay, why? But why? Like, why?
Because it makes the world is like a richer, better, more human place. Like, if you look at somebody like Einstein and you think that like that's a guy that could have played League of Legends all day, but instead he pursued physics. Or if you look at like Michelangelo, like great artists or whatever, like these are all people that they have like this world that they fit in. I'll say this circular, transparent thing that they could fit in theoretically. But they have ways of like poking at the edges or pushing boundaries that other humans can't do. And I think that when you do that, you're like expanding the whole of like what it even means to be human or what encompasses all of humanity. You're making these unique contributions to human history that like makes the world like better in measurable and immeasurable ways for everybody.
Yeah. Why do you want to do that?
At some point, it's just going to be some deeply innate human drive to like have a better world, I guess. I don't know how much deeper it can go then.
You can do anything. You're in this like position in your life where like you've got money, a reputation, you're handsome, all these things, and this is what you've decided to do.
I feel like the deeper, so in a ways, it's all reductively hedonistic, I guess. But there's a deeper sense of fulfillment, or there's a different kind of happiness that you get from doing fulfilling things versus things that just make you happy. The thing that I'll always compare it to is, you've read before, right? Do you ever read?
Thousands of books.
Okay. There's like a feeling that you get when you turn the final page in a book that you can never get from browsing 100 of the funniest memes on Reddit, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like a melancholic feeling of like leaving it, like, and that only comes because of all the friction and all of the work it took to get to that point. There's a huge time investment. There's a special like, you have to set aside moments of your life to pursue something, it's an active engagement of your mind. There's a whole lot of work that goes. And once you've hit that point, once you've overcome the friction of finishing that adventure, we'll say in a book, there's like a special sense of fulfillment that you get that's a lot different than just pushing the next button on your phone on like 9gag or Reddit or Imgur or whatever.
Totally. Like I'm literally, and when I think about moving, I'm like, even if I moved overseas, how many books could I take with me? I just want to like, there's nothing more satisfying, right? Like I've been waking up that's why I told you I've been waking up at 6 a.m. so I could read for 45 minutes. So I could actually get back into reading a book a week. Cause I was like, I could do a book a day in the past. And now I'm like, I don't know why I can't quite do it, but okay, wait, this is great. I know you're trying to like not exactly use my framework, which is fine. Someone said that in the comments.
The only reason the only reason I'm trying to say bubbles is I know that you have like other definitions and I don't want to like stumble into saying.
They don't. No. The definition is just like this. We all live in cultural bubbles. Like say it that way, or like we all live in spaces where we think this like. Ethan lives in his own world. We all live in our different worlds. We all live in different worlds, right? So when we observe people, we can see where they're coming from and why they chose what they chose, because people aren't that much of a mystery. With you, I think because you're so open, it's cool to ask you like why you've decided to do certain things. It feels a little bit, I could be wrong. How does it feel like, okay, you know how Sneeko has had this like, I love just my son. He's just, but he's going through this great journey and he's really like owning the particular bubble he's in. He's really excelling fast. Like he's done everything according to the algorithm. He's really finding success. I can see why he did that. He's literally saying it. He's looking for something. He's going to go find it. But with you, you're saying, I'm going to. Okay,
never mind. We'll talk about it later, okay?
Me?
Yeah. This particular thing. I understand what you're saying. It's a more complicated conversation.
Fine.
But I understand what you're saying. But fine. Yeah, but okay. I just can't talk about it on stream. But I understand what you're saying. You're right,
okay,
though. Okay,
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, shoot, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit. Have you been otherwise good?
Yeah, lots of crazy stuff, lots of funny memes, lots of, wild stuff. How's life been going for you? I'm proud of you. You've overcome a lot in that you're on a healthy sleep schedule. Good
Oh,
job.
I was like, what are you talking about?
A lot of people aren't able to do that. A lot of people aren't able to get off the ultra toxic sleep shit into like a normal sleep schedule. I notice now if I message you at 11 o'clock, you're like, sorry, I was already sleeping. Good job. Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Literally, I'm so proud because all you night owls, everyone hits me up past 10, and I'm like, I love that. First of all, it makes me feel loved waking up to so many nice messages, but I cannot. If I'm gonna wake up at 6, I can't. Like, I need to be in bed at least 8 to 9 hours, just because I don't sleep good at all, anyways. How have you been sleeping?
Okay. My sleep's always like, okay. Not the greatest, not the worst.
Not the greatest, not the worst. Okay.
Do, what was I gonna say? Oh, I don't know if you talk about this publicly. Do you still smoke at all, or?
Girl, no, I stopped smoking because of my lupus, but I do my edibles all the time. So May was my last hit. But yeah, I gotta be high unless I'm having babies, which right now is 36. No.
You can do it,
No.
Brittany. That's the next one. Once you
What?
break the
What?
weed thing, oh my God, you're gonna unlock your mind. That's what you need to get from level 4 to 5, Brittany. You're trapped at level 4. It's the weed level. Yeah.
Why are you trying to take my drugs away from me? I was curious about that. I guess you don't do drugs. Like, you're never high on stream or drunk on stream. You're sober. How do you just like not like it?
I love drugs. Drugs are fucking awesome. Everybody should explore drugs. I think drugs are a very good vacation. Super fun to get a change in perspective, to explore yourself or other people in ways you haven't before and in ways you can't. I love mushrooms, MDMA, LSD, meth one time on accident. It was still a really fun time. But these are really, really, really fun drugs. But when they become part of your regular routine, I think that's really scary to me. So like smoking every day, doing edibles every day, I think is bad habits. I think that's so. Yeah. So I love drugs. Super love doing it with people. Really fun way to get to know people, explore yourself. But I try not to make it any part of like my regular daily routine because I'd be worried about that being a necessity for me to function. Yeah.
Totally. Well, I mean, obviously, I believe in like breaks. Like, take a break. It's so much better when you come back. I will say I am less productive, obviously, if I'm high during the day. So I try to stay high after a certain time, or if it's a high stream, then we just celebrate together. But you're right that like you shouldn't, hopefully you wouldn't have anything that would hold you back. But recently someone told me that I should face some of my issues, but some of them are just like I'm really sensitive about gags. Like when people gag, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna join you in that. Don't
Wait,
do that
have you seen a video?
I probably can't watch it.
Oh shit. There's a girl that has that problem. There's a bunch of guys around her. He's like, hey, how you feeling? And then she's like, and then she starts doing it. Yeah,
Nice
okay, sorry.
try.
Yeah, okay.
No,
But no,
no.
then they just do that to her all day. Okay,
So
sorry.
my brother, that's why all day my brothers just do it and they stand outside my door and they
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
so funny. But I really have puked from it. So someone recently told me that I should challenge myself and get over that. What do you think about that? Should we get rid of all of our weaknesses?
I mean, probably not all of it. Depends on how. I don't know where that weakness comes from. Is that something you can get over, or?
I think it's just an association, maybe. Like, you see, I can't. Even there's like a scene in Disney's Mulan where she tries to spit and she can't like complete it, and I'm like, that scene makes me want to every time. Like I'm like, oh, so like I'm very like sensitive, but I don't know if that would change my life for the better. Getting rid of that. I don't know if getting rid of weed would really change my life for the better if you're disciplined with its use.
Well, but you do it every single day. So how disciplined are you? I don't think discipline means like I do it at the same time every single day. That's not what discipline means.
Whoa, sir. I can go off it anytime though, bitch. Like I just went a week off of it. I was at my mom's house. I didn't, I try not to do drugs in her house. It's like, it is just what it is. Like, but you should utilize everything for your own benefit. And I think weed benefits. Plus my nutritionist and my doctor want me on weed. So what are you going to do now? Exactly.
There's no way that, first of all, I don't even know if nutrition is a real thing.
Okay.
I'm guessing the doctor probably said that if you have pain or nausea related to anything, that you should probably like do some sort of CBD stuff in that time. I don't know if you need THC. I don't know.
THC, baby. It's THC.
Is THC
baby.
the thing that alleviates the nausea and everything, or is it the CBD?
It's the pain. It's lupus, like autoimmune disorders have a lot of like physical chronic pain. But also, I told them I was already doing THC. I was like, I take THC all the time. They're like, great, stay on it for your sleep. It's really helpful. For my sleep, it's very helpful. Otherwise, I'm just up all night thinking about like all the ways I can make a video tomorrow, or like all the things I could do, and then I'll be up talking to you at 11 when I shouldn't be. I should be in bed.
Okay, well.
So I will say, I'm just saying.
That's good. You found an actual cope for your drug obsession. I'm proud of you. Not everybody can do that. Good job.
You on this like Andrew Tate journey where he's like, no drugs?
No, I think people should do what they want. I know a lot of people who smoke every day. I just don't know how I feel about it. No, I do know how I feel about it. It's not good. I don't think you should do it every day. But hey, listen, it's your life. You do you,
Oh my
babe.
God.
You do you, Habibi.
Oh my God. Oh, Habibi. Oh, Habibi. Okay. Well, damn. Okay. Everything I want to talk to you about sounds a little too much. Lav had to cancel on me last minute, so
What a bitch. Why'd she cancel?
I'm not gonna tell you. She's for her own reasons. She has her reasons. They all do. They always have their reasons.
So now you're telling me, well, it was like a reason, like something worth, like actually not like a random, like, oh, she was busy, but there was some shit going on.
No, very boring. Very boring. You know, we'll try again on Friday.
Oh, she just told me why. She said she overslept because she was smoking weed because she's addicted to drugs too. She said you need to stop immediately. Oh no.
Oh my God. You know what? You're starting to sound like my conservative parents. I'm gonna get triggered.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad.
Actually, I think my dad would be more libertarian at this point, where he'd say, it's just a plant. Let her smoke it. Leave my daughter alone.
Well,
that's all I really want to talk to you about. I'm afraid otherwise I'm just kind of...
okay. What have you been up to?
In general, being a girl and being pretty happy. And then I'm also in hustle mode right now. So I'm trying to like really bunker down and focus, especially since I had to take a week off a couple weeks ago. And now I'm back on it, which is good. I might move. Definitely not to Florida.
Ooh, oh.
Everyone keeps telling me to move to Florida, but I even with the lupus, now that I'm like allergic to the sun, basically, I really shouldn't be in Florida. I don't think that's reasonable. But just getting ready for the new year, you know.
Okay. Are you like big holiday people?
Just Christmas, really, because, you know, we all get together and all the 10 kids come together and we all have a huge celebration.
Do you have like a great grandma or anything?
Everyone's dead now.
Oh, fuck.
Which is I always sad. Thought it was... We all just... Yeah.
I was gonna say, it was always really interesting. My kid's mom, they would have like family reunions, and I think I want to say it was her great grandma was alive. And it's always interesting being near a person and like you're around them and there's like 100 people that kind of all came from that one person in a way.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, it's like a weird...
Did someone just say this in a video? Wait.
Was it one of mine?
Andrew Tate, I think. Or somebody just said
Oh,
this,
it was an Andrew Tate thing, actually. Yeah, that's true. He reminded me of that. Yeah. Because he was saying that like, oh yeah, it's beautiful. Women can do the blah, blah, blah. And like, you see all these people create about, he did. He reminded me of that, yeah.
So actually, this might be quite controversial because with my background, and my grandparents have all just passed. Like I just lost my last two grandfathers and one was over 103 and the other one was in his 80s. But like my mother's family, very unorthodox. Like my grandma was married at 12 to like my grandpa who was like 18. Neither of them wanted to get married. Like neither of them wanted to do that. He wanted to be a priest and he said no because he was the only boy at the time. And then my grandma, it was just how things go. You get your period, you get married. You know, T-Rock, what are you going to do? So from them alone, and they stayed married till they both died. She of Alzheimer's and pneumonia and him of old age and COVID. Okay. But they had 17 kids.
Jesus,
26 fuck. If you count the miscarriages. My mom, I think, is number 14, maybe. My mom had 10 kids. Her sister had 10 kids. So when we all get together, I think I have like 80 first cousins, and then all of them have cousins, and then all of them, not cousins, all of them have kids and kids and kids. So our family is rather huge. Actually, I always say if you marry into my family, you don't just get me, you get like hundreds of people around the world. You get family in Iraq who will bring you in even if they've never met you. You'll have people in New Zealand and all the other places my families have immigrated to. And so I think there's something really beautiful, but it's so unsettling to have these conversations. I actually said I'd rather talk to like Abba and Preach and Andrew Tate and all these people about my upbringing because they're going to understand it way better than some like white liberal who grew up in a world where like, Brittany, that's never okay. It's like, yeah, I understand what you're all saying, but it is what happens. But there is something really amazing when the matriarchs come home and you look at your grandma and you realize, wow, from you, all of us have happened. Or even my grandfathers, like we, in Middle Eastern culture especially, our elders are our elders for a reason. Like they're respected because they did all of this for us. Even if they're short-sighted and a little bit too conservative sometimes, they did do so much for us.
It really bothers me how much people don't understand that. And like, I'm a very modern white liberal. So I believe that we should have like very modern institutions, but it's very fucking annoying when liberals are like, oh yeah, like the hijab, Muslims only make women wear that because they fucking hate women and they want to oppress them. And it's like, it's a little bit more complicated than that, my dude. Like people have people have a very one-dimensional view of of how things work. It's so funny when Christians will look at like Muslims and they'll be like, you wear the hijab, like how fucking oppressive. And then they'll turn around to like a woman in a like miniskirt and be like, what a slut. What a disgusting fucking whore. I hope she gets raped. I was like, bro, are you fucking serious right now? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's really, it's so funny that like like something that would be really funny is to take like Sharia law and like change like 6 words and present it to a Christian. Be like, how do you think this looks? Like, this would be the greatest thing ever. It's like, okay, bro, you're basically like a fucking fundy like jihadist sometimes. Like, chill, Jesus, you guys are insane. Yeah, I don't like how little people try to understand, or people are so quick to ascribe to hatred or malice other viewpoints that they don't understand, rather than saying like, even people that think that men are above women in the household and all that shit, they don't hate women. It's just they have a really different way of organizing and viewing the world.
Well, I think the stereotype of like the man-hating misogynist really just gets filtered through Hollywood, and Hollywood isn't telling my story. Like, they're not telling Middle Eastern stories, right? Like, and even if they did, they get it fucking wrong because they choose they would choose Muslims first of all, and I'm not even Muslim, so like they wouldn't even choose. But I think like growing up, it was really weird because my dad would say things like, "Betsy, you're amazing. You're gonna do great things. You're gonna run this business. You're gonna get married and have kids." And then as I got older and I came out as queer, my dad was like, "Is this because I raised you as a boy?" And I was like, "You raised me as a boy? I thought you were raising me as an equal." And he's like, "What? I was raising you as a boy." But then in hindsight, even now, my dad would say like, he's really proud of the money I'm making now. He's proud of not my work because it's not very Christ-like.
Sure.
But he's really proud that I'm hustling and that I'm going to buy a house and then I'm going to like do all these things. And it's really hard for him to even face his narrative of like, the man is the breadwinner and that, because my mom works with him now and they run this business together and they're like doing great. And so like, I think there's a confusion about how these conversations are happening. My youngest brother loves Andrew Tate and he's like, he wants me to love Andrew Tate too. I actually like Tristan a little bit better. But I told him, I was like, the way you talk about women, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't sound the way you think it sounds.
Yeah.
I don't hear, I'm a man who's going to protect my woman. I hear, because you're a dumb fucking cunt, I need to protect you.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that drives me so fucking crazy about all these fucking like these like Christian tenders, like they're like the new like oh my god, like I'm flirting with spirituality and blah 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 blah. When people talk from a Christian's perspective of like the man being above the woman, there is a huge amount of respect and partnership that's conferred there. It doesn't mean that you throw a bitch in a kitchen and tell her to cook and make children all day. There's like a delegated shared responsibility of the household. There's always conversation between like, the man doesn't just go out and buy shit and like, oh, you're the woman, you're subservient to me. No, there are always conversations there. Like, the woman is in charge of some of the most important aspects of the man's life, keeping the household in order, raising the children, making sure they're being respectful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, and all of these things are massively respectful institutions. But when the whole like Christian is like a trendy thing comes out, people are just like, oh, like, men are better than women and women have to shut the fuck up, and like I could have 10 women at once if I'm really rich as a man. I was like, bro, you are bastardizing how these traditional arrangements work so much, and you're unironically, like, it is the toxic masculinity or toxic Christianity. You're picking the worst fucking parts from these types of traditional relationships and then pretending that you're a trad Christian or a trad con person when you're not at all. Like, none of these relationships work if there's not like a lot of respect for it. To be clear, I don't even like those traditional relationships, but like, if you are going to do it, at least explore all the different facets of it, not just picking and choosing the ones that happen to like make you feel like you get the biggest dick or whatever,
I think that's the problem. Like, my little brother, I'll tell him, I was like, look at the way you love mom. Look at the way dad loves mom. Dad is very considerate. But then, here, Stephen, I went home, I told my parents, I'm really happy. I'm seeing a very considerate person. I'm really enamored. I'm really in love, blah, blah, blah. My mom goes, a considerate person? Oh, so he's like a girly boy. And I'm like, what? No, I said he was considerate, like, of my feelings. She goes, oh, how is he going to protect you? And I was like, by being considerate of my feelings. Like, what? But they don't really believe, like, I have borderline, or they don't really believe, like, in my PTSD, or they don't really believe in my diagnoses, or even my lupus. My dad's like, they're probably wrong. I was like, you know what? I hope they are.
Sure.
But it looks pretty good right now. And so when I think about that bubble, I always, like, going home reminds me about, like, oh, I forgot I grew up so conservative.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot. And then I go home, because, like, they want things. They're like, well, you need a man who can, like, build a house. So I was like, okay, half my brothers can't build a house, so I don't really think that's a requirement. And they're like, you need a man who's gonna like make money. I was like, I make money, keep going. And they're like, you need a man who, and I'm like, I don't really though. I thought I did. I thought I needed this like ultra masculine man, blah blah blah. But no, I needed someone who was solid, consistent, loyal, and honest, and considerate. Like, number one, considerate.
Yeah, I don't know. Or go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you look like you're gonna say something.
Just so
Spicy.
on that note, I don't know if this
Yeah.
is your experience, but I'm so curious. I have met so many conservative women, and I've got conservative women in my own family who are very much on this, like, the man needs to take care of the woman and provide and blah, 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 blah. But then as you get to know these people more, the women end up being so much more capable than the men in almost every regard. And it almost feels like, bro, why the fuck aren't you just running the household? Or what? Like, it seems like you've got a better hold on like the finance. You work more. Like that's like a thing that I run into time and time again. I love both my parents. I love my dad and my mom equally. I love them both so much. But like, I see that happening sometimes. Where like my dad will make very questionable financial decisions, but my mom won't say anything because she doesn't think it's her place to say anything. It's like, Mom, why the fuck won't you say anything here? She's like, well, he's
See,
the father.
that's
It's
so
like,
interesting.
do you have that feeling or not at all or what?
No, well, okay, you know, I'll tell you this. My parents always tell me, like, look, Betsy, your dad runs the household. Mom, you do all the finances, you do all the shopping, you organize all the kids, you homeschooled all of us. Dad goes to work and makes money and comes home.
Sure.
He does amazing things around the house, but even the way their dynamic works, my dad is like this like wolf of a man who like caters to my mom and like helps and protects and does all these things. But I feel like my mom is technically, well, she reads like a motherfucker, like a lot. My dad's like a genius in his field, but my mom is more like conscientious, if that makes sense. Like she's more just like in it, but my mom and dad are very transparent people. So the only reason, Steven, I have the arrogance to want someone I can share my whole self with and I can know everything about them is because I see that in my parents.
Sure.
My parents are really communicative people, but they're also extremely aggressive. And the Middle Eastern women in my family, their opinions get heard. Like the men, there might be a patriarchy, like there might be like my grandfather, or like my father, like a hierarchy, but like the women, they are respected. So I don't know. My bubble was really strange where again, mixed messages. Be a stay-at-home mom, also make money. I'm like, okay, ma'am, what am I doing here? But I do see your situation a lot. Like I know a lot of Christian white couples and they're very confusing to me because your mom's Cuban, right? So like she should not be on that wavelength, but maybe where they feel
people, some Hispanic people or Cuban people or whoever that immigrate to the United States end up being like the most American people, like the most American people. And Cubans definitely fell into that. They're like the most conservative group in the United States, but yeah.
But yeah, they're like uncomfortable talking to their partners or saying things to them. But why wouldn't they be when people are out here saying they're not going to be open, right? I don't want to hear it. I want this version this way. And I'm like, I get it, right? But like, who are you supposed to tell everything to if not your partner, right?
Sure.
But that's just how I fuck with it, though. I don't know if you actually like that, like complete transparency. But if I don't feel safe enough to talk to my partner, not because my partner has created that environment alone, but because I'm consenting to it, I feel responsible for now creating a situation where I can't speak my mind, which is why I don't allow it to occur.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do see it really often in a lot of couples because they're afraid, like even in my own work, like I've asked people like, oh, what does your partner believe? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, wait, you've been with them for 8, 10, 20 years. How do you not know what your partner thinks about religion? That's so, isn't that a first date question?
Yeah.
But then I realized that that's just my background. Is that what you mean? Is that what you're talking about?
Just the idea that there are like, that there are a lot of very capable women that end up taking backseat sometimes to the men in their lives because they feel like that's how it's supposed to go. But like, yeah, I feel like there's a shortage of
their bubble.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's weird because sometimes I feel like people are calling for like there are no more conservative women, but then when I go into like the conservative worlds and I look at the conservative men, I'm like, you guys suck. Like, why the fuck would anybody want to be in relationships with you? Like,
what bubble do you belong to? If like someone's dating you, what bubble are they dating in?
I have no idea. I've dated all sorts of people. The thing that I look for the most. They were
dating you.
Yeah, the thing that I look for the most in a person is usually you have to be very, very independent. That's like really important. Like you have to have your own life. You have to have your own thoughts. And
your own husband, your own kid?
Not necessarily, no.
Not that independent. Okay.
Well, that would be not independent. That'd be dependent on somebody else. But it's basically just like I'm a very aggressive person, and I don't like it when people like roll over for me in life. It's not fun. So like in almost one consistent theme in all of my relationships is the people that I date usually have like very aggressive personalities. So like we can fight with each other, argue with each other, like disagree with each other. Like that's a really, really, really important thing. And I think even with like the people I bring on stream, even for like friends, like I think that's true. Like you argue with me about things, Mr. Girl obviously argues with me. Like that's typically true. Those are the people that'll stick around the longest. Are people that I can have arguments with. Like that's fun and exciting for me. I enjoy that. Yeah, that's probably like the most important qualifier. And then there'll be other things like downstream from that. But
I have a prediction about your life, but I don't know if I should say it out loud.
go ahead, do it. Why not? Now that you said that much, you kind of have to. Now you're committed to it.
I know. I was really gonna say it anyways.
Yeah, that's good.
I just want to pretend like I'm not gonna.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting a vibe from you that is so interesting. Like you're obviously in a transition, and I'm curious on where you'll land. I predict you're gonna be really bored with some of the choices you're gonna make in the next 6 months, and then you're gonna make a different choice, and the choice will be much more interesting than the one you're making in your head right now.
True. I'll try the media
And
company, get bored. I'm going to become a fucking priest. That's the real dream.
I don't know, but you actually that'd be kind of high, like you in the robes.
Yeah, my little Jesuit white collar. Yeah, I'll go teach.
That'd be a great like scene. Yeah. I just think there's something in your energy right now which is so different than normal. But obviously, like you said, you're in transition, so that's fine.
Gotcha.
But it feels like you did this. It feels like you were like this. You're like, debate, bro. Oh, switch from Twitch to YouTube. And then it feels like now you went to like Fresh and Fit and you had those conversations, and now you're going to go to a different place to see if you fit there. Are you looking for where you fit, Destiny?
I've been transitioning for like a year now. It's been something that I've been like actively seeking. It might not have been, there have been some things that have kind of like moved it along a little bit quicker, but I've been trying to figure out constantly how to be like a more effective political communicator. And to do that is like that's like a thing here that involves a lot of changes up here in order to bring that in line. So like being able
here
to
in your consciousness or up here in
like being an effective political communicator is downstream from a whole bunch of more fundamental things. Because like fundamentally, what does it mean to be a political communicator? It means I need to be able to converse with and convince people that believe totally different things that I believe or have totally different thought processes. So there's a demand on a person like that to either have the prerequisite experiences or the tools to gather information from people that believe like totally different things, and then to be able to speak to them in ways that they can understand you. And I think there's a lot of skill sets there to work on, and it might require like a fundamental reworking of how you view the world. So like one example of
doing that though since
What?
day one, like haven't you done that like throughout your whole career, like changed and updated, and you've been so many different Stevens. So how is this change any different than your other changes?
I mean, it's all part of the same journey path thing, maybe. Like I don't know if it's fundamentally like a massively different thing, but like in the beginning of my first like 2 to 3 years of politics, I was basically like I was like the huge like bully. Like if we're gonna have a debate, I'm gonna destroy you and make you feel stupid, and that's how I'm gonna like convince your fans to follow me instead or whatever. Like that was kind of the path. And then I've tried to be more like compassionate or empathetic over the past like 1 or 2 years. I think especially I've tried that a lot. And then over the past year, especially I've focused on honing in like my understanding or my empathy for other types of people too. So it's all been kind of like that process. But just like growing in the real world, growth is never like this. It's always like this, like you stagnate for a bit, you have a bump in growth, you stagnate for a bit, you have a bump in growth, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Do you think that every time you hit this moment, you look back on your life and you don't want to repeat and stay stagnant, you know, that idea of looking back for 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that it's going to look different every time? Like is it always going to have to do something with work, or is it going to have to do something with like you or your relationships or the way you see the world? Or do you think it's always going to be related to your job?
I grow, it's very rare. Do I grow sometimes? I grow best when there's conflict or challenges. Like that's usually what I grow out of. So I'll say recently, without getting into details, I had a lot of growth, or I had a lot of conflict with a particular person and scenario involving this person. And it was out of that conflict that I had to reorganize or reanalyze or rethink of a lot of different things in order to kind of like make sense of things that had happened and to like move on from that event. And it'll usually be through big moments of conflict in my life that I'm forced to kind of like reevaluate or change things, basically. I think those are what I grow best from. There's a game that I used to play called StarCraft. You ever played before?
No, but you remember I dated a guy who liked playing it, so that's why I know what it is.
There's an interesting concept where when you play a game, if you play a game and you win the game, you're not really getting much better at it because you did everything right and you're good. But if you play and you start losing towards something, well, now that you've lost, now there's something to improve, right? There's either a different, I won't get into details, but like, yeah, you have to improve something. So I find that in life, as long as you're doing really well and you're not presented with much adversity and everything's going good, it's pretty hard to find big instigators to change, because why would you change up a lot of the formula seems to be working well? So normally there has to be some instigator that comes along where it's like, hey, here's something that you could do, or here's something you could have, or here's a challenge that you can't meet, and you're not able to do that now. So do you avoid that and kind of like carry on the other path and keep doing what you're doing, or do you reconfigure or change some of your fundamental beliefs or views of the world in order to overcome that challenge? And ideally, I'm hoping that I'm always going to be the person that wants to rise and meet or exceed the threshold to beat whatever that challenge is. And then that's kind of what's happened over the past like couple months, I guess.
Love it. Here's the question.
Okay.
When you're making this change, obviously I okay, 100% agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
This happens in layers of life. So right now, I think it could happen in your job, happen in your personal life, happen in your own, like right now, would you say it's happening in your business life? Because that's what you're changing from the outside. That's what I'm observing.
Kind of. So for business life, this is what I mean when I say that like everything is like abstracted from other things. For business life, the change is that like I want to do something a little bit more than just streaming. I think I can do more. But that comes from a fundamental re-understanding of like I think a person's obligation to the world and obligation to themselves. So prior to this, I would say that like your obligations are obviously contractual ones. Like if you've made a contract or an agreement with somebody, if you have a child, if you've got a wife or whatever, like these are things that you should honor, obviously. And then like you should try to make yourself as happy as possible. That's like an obvious thing. Like these are the two, I would have said that those are the two obligations you have in life. But now that I've kind of like rethought about that, I'm like, well, hold on. I think that there is a third obligation we can speak of. I think that every person has like sets of talents or things that they can do exceedingly well. And I think that the world is actually like a fundamentally worse place if people don't explore those virtues or those talents or those gifts that they have. So I think everybody kind of owes it. I think it's like morally, you have an imperative to explore those special gifts that you have in the biggest way possible. So because I've kind of like changed my view on that, well, now I go downstream or upstream or downstream, I guess. Yeah, now I apply that to my working life. It's like, okay, well, I can be a video game streamer for my whole life and that's fine. I can do that. I make a ton of money. I have a lot of fun. It's cool. But there's probably other stuff that I can do even greater that maybe not everybody else can do, and I can like engage with it in a unique or exceptional manner. And why would I not? It seems like I'm like worsening the world and myself to not have that engagement with the world I live in. Does that make sense?
Totally, 100% makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my journey it went into the world, but then it went outside of the world. And earlier, I think it was still that Devin guy, because I listened to a few videos today, so I can't remember. And he said something like, oh shoot, wait, I just lost it.
Oh no.
He said introspection is sort of selfish because you have to be alone to introspect, right? And I think it's interesting when I watch people be introspective or extrospective, but then they end up putting their energy into the world as an abstract concept, because that seems really inefficient to me. So I guess I'm asking you these questions because I'm trying to figure out like, why would you make this decision? But then it would make sense if it fulfilled some sort of like egocentric focus or like some legacy you're doing or some sort of like, this is what I think is just correct morally. You know, why wouldn't you go into yourself? Like, why would you give more of yourself to the world when the world has just like not appreciated it as much as they could have?
Because I think that is like the best version of yourself. Like the best version of Einstein was the guy that contributed everything he did to the world. The best version of Hitler or Oppenheimer or any like fantastic figure, Alexander the Great, like the best versions of themselves can't be divorced from the engagement that they had with the world, right?
Only if the world is the one judging, but if you're judging your own life, does it matter? Like what? Like for some people, matter. Like they would rather just like have children, and have like grandchildren. Right? Talk about the legacy. Like having all those babies is quite a legacy. But you're saying you, Steven, won't be fulfilled by just being a normal person. So you're looking for something extraordinary to do, right?
Sure, but I think that when we engage with the world, humans don't exist in a vacuum, right? Like everything we do is going to affect other people to some extent. So if you're engaging in an exceptional or great with the world, then other people are probably going to be impacted by that, right? By like exceptional people or great people. So if you have the ability to pursue something in an exceptional or great manner, it's going to be stuff that is like impacting other people to some extent anyway, yeah?
Yeah, I think for me, I just think about my direct, like 6 feet radius. And then I go, yeah, but I'm not shitting on yours like that's the wrong choice. I guess it's the same reason why I got confused when the people were like, why Mr. Girl takes me so seriously or Lav or anybody. Because I'm just like, why? And then it's like, maybe it's this because I don't have this. Whatever you're saying right now, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is. Like I know
sure,
what it
I think
is
they see themselves as like everybody.
My past self, but I don't get it now.
I guess like the difference is that like maybe you see everybody as like individual little like puddles, and you kind of exist in your puddle and you do your thing. Whereas other people might view all of us are in the same lake. And when you put a drop in that lake, you ripple out and you affect everything else around you, even if it's a small thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
I do think that's true.
Yeah. Well, but if you think that's true, that's usually where their arguments are coming from. It's why you need to be aware of it.
But that's because they only think that's true. I think we are all like all these bubbles together, and then we're all one massive. Like there's the American bubble, then there's the Florida bubble, then there's the like Florida,
that's
Miami,
probably the
Tampa
better
bubble,
understanding. A more sophisticated understanding of those bubbles is probably going to be that like it's not like you're either in this bubble and then you go to that bubble or you go to this bubble. It's probably more just like I'm in bubble like 7D. Like I'm in bubble 1 that's also in bubble 2 that's in bubble 3 and 4 and 5, and then bubble 7 has subsection E in Miami for this group of people that right. That's probably more how it goes, right? Yeah, there's tons of different groups here. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're making a conscientious decision to interact and impact bubbles. Well, I am trying to make the conscientious decision to exist, to just let people know I'm a person that happens to be alive. But I have no deep, great desire to like change or shift the world because I just don't think it matters in the way that could fulfill me as a person. What fulfills me as a person is talking and meeting cool people and having good conversations and like having a family and raising babies. Like I'm a traditionalist in that way at heart, but not for everyone, just for me.
Sure.
So I guess I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, I think that like when I speak about like worldly things, it's just because of like the platform I have and where I'm at. Like if I wasn't a streamer, and let's say that somehow I was going on this exact same journey, but I wasn't a streamer and I was like doing my personal stuff, what I'd want to do, like all these same thoughts might instead be like let's say every day after stream, I play my piano and it's fun and I enjoy it, right? Well, maybe at some point in my life, you're like, you know what? I went to school, wanted a minor in composition. I can write formal pieces. Like maybe I owe it to myself and everything to like push the boundaries of that a bit more rather than just kind of like goofing off. I should actually like sit down and write formal pieces. Like that would be how it might come out in a personal sense. Not in the like, I want to be the next great like jazz musician or piano player or Keith Jarrett or whatever. Like I don't want to be like the best or whatever. It's just I have a talent and I owe it to myself and the world. Everybody owes it to the world to pursue those talents to their max, just because it makes like life so much richer for everybody. Like in a society where everybody.
Part that I'm annoyed with. It's the first part I love. Like the second part, the whole like you owe it to yourself. I'm like fire. You owe it to the world. I'm like skirt. So if every single person lived a hedonistic life, our planet would suck shit. But if every single person, hedonism is my worst nightmare.
But if every single person pursued the talents that they were like the most suited towards, and they made those contributions to the world, our world is an infinitely richer place. And some of the hugest achievements, some of the best things that have existed in the world have come off the backs of individuals pursuing those types of talents. So the question is like, is there some moral good there? Is there some imperative that as humans, that are gonna human with other humans that all exist in a society, like is there some sort of collective like synergistic bond that we have with each other where we kind of owe it to ourselves to push the borders of like or push the boundaries of what we're capable of doing? Or is it okay to just sit and be like, fuck it? If a physician retires and he moves to some African village and there's some like poor dying Sudanese child and you know he's like, oh god, like blah blah blah, and the doctor's like, you know, I could cure this person but I don't fucking owe it, like fuck it, I can just like chill and do my shit. Like does that doctor owe it to that village to be the doctor, or could he just be like, fuck it, I don't care, like I'm retired, like I'm chill? I feel like if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, like he's chill. He can pursue that. Like that's what makes him happy. Just like he should be able to do that. But I think now when I look at it, I'm like, well, you know what? He has a particular set of talents and gifts that he can like put into the world, not even in a grand way, but just for these groups of people. And I think he should pursue that. I think it'd be morally virtuous. There's an imperative that he ought to pursue those things, I would say.
I want to encourage people to be their best, like their version, like do your 110%, right? Like whatever your version of 110% is. I don't like the idea that the world is the motivator, but maybe people are externally motivated in that way. So I'm just like in my own head thinking like, I still don't see what the world has to do with this, but I like the idea of the world being impacted. I like the idea of holding yourself accountable and being your best version. That's how I feel right now. I'm in this like, I'm in my little hustle mode. I was like, okay, Brittany, less weed, less masturbation, focus. Let's focus on work. And work, yeah.
When I say owe it to the world, oh shit. It's really hard to put this into words without making cringy fucking spiritual analogies. When I say owe it to the world, like if humanity is all of one thing, if we have like a shared humanity with each other, like every action we do, every act we take every thought we think, every word we speak is spoken into this like interwoven fabric of all of humankind. We don't like live in forests and eat from a tree and like don't interact with each other, right? Every action we do is necessarily us like, dotting an I, crossing a tree on the pages of humanity. We're all contributing to this in some way, size, shape, or form. And we're contributing from it and we're taking from it at the same time. All of us are necessarily, no, unless you literally are like the bomber who lived in the
Unabomber?
Yeah, the Unabomber. Ted Kaczynski, is that the guy's name? I think he like lived in a forest. Unless you're that guy, right? All of us are constantly taking from, giving back to, interacting with humanity in some way. There's this collective human spirit, right? If you are such a person that has a thing that you do exceedingly well as taking from and being part of that human spirit, if you have the ability to give back to it, I think you should. That's all I'm saying. But I think I'm restating myself. I understand. So I can understand your disagreement with that, right? Like the idea that there's an obligation for you to like give back to other people in ways that you might not know how to do, you might not be appreciated for, and might even be a detriment to you. Like that is a burden to some extent. I acknowledge that. And I can see why it would be unattractive or unappealing. I get that too.
It feels like the callers that demand I take their call. Like I'll get emails from people that said, hey, you need to boot someone off your call list so I can get on. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because I need to talk to you. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? They're like, you're the only person who can help me. And I was like, you sound crazy. It sounds, and they're saying, well, you have this talent and I need your particular set of skills, Liam Neeson. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm busy because I'm full up. So at what point are you supposed to feel guilty? I assume never, because it doesn't work within my values, or shame because you betrayed your value and within your community of being a presence there that you could be helpful. Like I'm super helpful. I have a whole community of people that rely on me, that can call me at 2 a.m. and I will come get you. But I have a limit to how I can interact with that world.
Sure.
So the reason I do calls or I'm really active on my Discord is like I'm trying to be active in my local community, and then I do that in my physical local community, right? Yet you, who wants to impact the world in such a way, is still making it so you are not physically interacting with the world, right? You're still only having a very distanced relationship with it, I assume. But you want to impact it on a larger scale. But I actually think local and small works better. That's why I think like if I impact 5 people, way better than 1,000, because those 1,000.
I just happen to work on a large scale because of my position. That's it. It's not big. I don't think everybody needs to be interact. Like I think local scales are almost always going to be better actually. Because
when you say your position, you mean on YouTube?
Yeah, like on YouTube as a streamer. Like obviously I'm reaching out to more people than I would as like an individual normally, right?
Yeah, totally. I guess I understand the wanting to bridge gaps. Like you did really good on Fresh and Fit. You were like, I think I'd be really nervous and I'd be sweating the whole time. So if you guys bring me on that panel, just know that I'll be nervous. But I think that's really a skill you have that I don't have.
Sure.
And I think it's really lovely to see you do that. Do you think you'll get bored? Because I feel like that's what you've been doing for a long time.
No, I think I've gotten better. I think I've gotten better and better at it.
Okay.
It's something that I'm continuing to improve as a skill. And then also I want to be clear. When I say humanity demands of you some kind of like contribution back to it, humanity is a lot different than a human. I don't think a human can demand anything of you. When I speak about humanity, I'm talking about this like collective fabric of mankind, not like some individual saying, you need to fucking take my fucking call, Brittany, blah, 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 right? So like the demand that humanity might have on you is that like you can have calls with people, and because you're able to, you ought to do that. You ought to pursue that as a thing. But that doesn't mean that some individual could be like, you need to talk to me right now or blah, 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 right? Like it's contribute in the ways that you can that like, isn't a huge detriment to yourself or something at the same time,
Yeah, I guess I do accept that people are going to individually make their own decisions, and I believe people conscientiously choose most of their life paths. So I like the idea of yours. It feels I'm going to say it like this, but take it with a grain of salt.
Sure.
This is just my gut. Could be so off. I'm like oh my God. Okay. It feels like 2 possible feelings. Desperate, grasping at something that brings a foundation, and then it feels slightly performative.
Okay.
How do you but only because it feels shielded, and maybe it's because I don't know what's going on and I don't know you personally like that, maybe there's like a lot of reasons you're going down this path. Okay. But I think it feels worrisome to me, but only because I'm just like, why are we doing this though? Like why this particular thinking of your the humanity is this like big thing. Because it doesn't that just like fuel the neuroses and the craziness of the bubbles who are already like, we have to save the world. We have to save the world. It sounds like very.
I think that those are all like very shallow engagements with the subject. Like I agree that there are people that do that. Like I want to save the world, blah 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 blah. But like I'm not talking about saving the world. I'm talking
Okay.
about like all of these outward actions are coming from a lot of inward examination, right? If you're
Okay, I'm
really,
cool with
really,
that,
really
yeah.
good at music, maybe you owe it to humanity to pursue that talent. Maybe you ought to look at something there. Or if you're really good at like therapy, or if you're really good at driving buses, whatever, like these are contributions that you can make to like all of humankind. Like that's good. But you don't have like an obligation to like save the whales or save all the fish or whatever. It's just that like all of us have like different sets of skills and talents. And I think we owe it to ourselves and the world around us to pursue those skills and talents. I think it would be a better place if we all did it.
I did grow up hearing that a lot in the Catholic bubble, where they were like, this, you know, find the path that God like laid out for you. And so obviously I think I did find my purpose. Like I think I found where the universe, quote unquote, was going to send me, whatever that means. Not that I exactly believe in fate, but I do think that I chose a path that best complemented my skill set, which is limited. I don't have a lot of talents. I have like 1 or 2 set of skills that I'm like, great. And I made a business off of that, and that's wonderful.
Sure.
But, and I hope that I help people, but it's sort of now at this point like a bonus. But you're right. I do think you should pursue. I actually like that part of hustle culture in Andrew Tate's bubble, where Andrew Tate and Sneeko, no matter how you want to play it, at the end of it, you kind of feel motivated to get shit done. But after an Ethan Klein like stream, you're like, I just want to be fat and useless, don't I? Like there's really like a difference in the encouragement levels. So are you more like, are you going to try like optimism on? Is that what's happening? It's like more like be focused, be disciplined, find your talent.
I mean, I've
Go to
always
that
been kind of
thing.
like optimistic. Like, I don't think we should ever be like pessimistic or hopeless. Like, that's a really boring and debilitating way to live through life or to go through life. That's always something that like red pill and like right-leaning ideologies have more, is left-leaning people always seem to be too caught up and like thinking that everything is doomer in the end, and systemic oppression and injustice and white supremacy and, you know, genocides and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we can't do anything. Okay, well, fuck, like what a depressing fucking message. Why the fuck would anybody want to listen to you about anything? Like, Jesus Christ.
Totally.
But but right-leaning people, even if some of their systemic analysis is fucking dog shit, their messages are way cooler. Go to the gym, get lifted, do this, make a family, you can make a change in your life, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, cool. That sounds cool. I like that message more. That's a better message to sell on an individual level to somebody than, you know, like everything is hopeless and systemically fucked and everything, you know?
100%. It's actually why I think I'm really lucky to have been raised a conservative and then gone more progressive, because I have it like in me. One of my former progressive friends actually said that to me. She goes, you only know how to work within the patriarchy because you were raised as a boy. And I was like, oh, well, I also am kind of smart, I guess. Like, damn, give me some personal credit for my achievements. But she said that. She's like, your like aggro way of being is why you've been successful. And I'm like, isn't that what Andrew Tate's saying? He's saying everyone is a pussy because all of you are denying like your ability to be like strong, make a statement and go for it. Like the internet's going to come for you. The world's going to come for you. And it really sucks. But like, you know, take a deep breath and keep going, which is hard, right? I know you never get quote unquote burned out, and I most certainly do at this job. But I think balancing it out always goes back to going back to my family, going back to the things that I need as an individual separate from my job, right? So I can be that 110% because I do think that I think I have a lot of fun here, and I think that I add to the world, but I'm not sure that that's a requirement for me to be present in the world. And I think I think we all just learn, like, look at Lav, like on her first journey into the world, you're just like watching her and you're like, oh, I wonder what she'll do with this. But like, she could go in so many directions because she's such a baby at it, like the streaming world.
Sure.
But she's open to all these.
Oh shit, you guys had a huge fight. I remember this.
Wait, we only had the stream with you.
Yeah, well, you guys were...
But that's it. That was like the only interaction I've had with her yet until we stream again.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I just watched one video from her, so I don't even know her literal history on the internet. But I know a little bit. But she's new. You can just tell. Versus you and I are established, but you are like you're on a new trajectory. I don't know. Sure. There's something interesting about it.
I've done this a few times. It's kind of like the journey of my life. So yeah.
It's like which we all do. I mean, go back and watch my career. I've changed a billion times. Okay, well, very interested to see what you end up doing with your time. I wonder how much does that sense of like, I guess I'm going to put like an honor word on it. Like, I'm going to do my best. How much does that really filter in through the rest of your life? Is it easiest doing it with work?
It's easiest with work, yeah, of course, because work is easy. Personal stuff is way harder. Like, managing stream and everything is way easier than managing like your personal relationships. So I try to apply the things that I believe like through all areas of my life. But yeah, I mean, I would say stream is easier than personal relationships. Would you? Or no? Is that the opposite
Yeah.
for you? Yeah. Okay.
No. Because the thing with the personal relationships is like it's real fucking life. Like it's really gonna matter to the rest of my life, right? So of course it matters more.
And it's
But
people
also,
whose
I wanna-
opinions you have to care about. I don't give a fuck what my stream thinks about me. If they think
Right.
something is cringe or whatever, but like I do care what Melita thinks about me. That's really important. Arguably the most important person's opinion in my life, except for my son. You know. So yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a
Totally.
lot
No.
different. Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so hard to like, especially as a streamer, like letting people into your life. Like I've had this struggle a lot online where I make friends through the internet because like that's what I like to do. But I've realized I need friends who are not going to make their problems my problems. Like I have enough close friends. I have my inner circle. I have everyone I need in my life. But I want to keep meeting new people who are cool. But I want to have like more adult relationships. Like, have you ever had this like, is this something that you think about where we're just adults and we're talking? I don't need to know, okay? We don't need to get into each other's business. You can be friends with Nick. I'm cool with that. Doesn't mean much. Like, but for some people they're like, this means everything. And I'm like, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't. You don't have to like, be like, I'm friends with Brittany, so this means something. It doesn't mean anything. Do you feel that way or no? Do you feel like the people you call friends mean something? Like they're.
Are you talking about like just having like a casual, like almost like a work friend where you're like, what's up? How you doing? And you like chat and like,
Yeah,
that's
but
it?
we're YouTubers, so
No, I understand. I don't mean like, I mean like a work friend. Like you go to a restaurant and there's like, I'm just going to go there. What am I, there was a weird way that I looked at the world before where you had like, you've got like your work life, your personal life, your school life. And it's always nice that there was like a separation between these things for me.
Yeah.
Because if I ever had problems at one, it didn't carry over to another generally. So
Yeah.
like if like shit is happening at home and I'm rough at school, I can go to fucking work and unplug my brain. And you've got like Jeremy and Samantha are there. And you're like, oh, what's up guys? How you doing? Oh, cool. You know, what's going on? There might be like a little bit of like, oh, I got in a fight with my girlfriend. Oh, damn, that sucks. Cool. And then like, that's it. But it's not like, it's not like ultra heavy time where we're gonna go to the couch and like really dump on each other's feelings and
Right.
grab some drugs and get
Right.
like, so yeah, it's just like chill stuff. Yeah, no, those are fun relationships to have for sure. Easy relationships
Yeah.
to have, yeah.
Okay, so I look at those relationships and then I look at the world. Like, how obligated am I to the world? Well, what kind of friends are we? That's how I look at the world, and I look at my friends. Well, like, what's our obligation to one another?
Sure.
Because I'd like minimal with the whole world, but then maximum with my local community because I'd like to be a participant if possible
Sure.
in my local community. So I guess I'm just trying to like understand you feel very like big, like you're trying to go big. And I'm like, that's interesting. That sounds difficult. Like Daily Wire is big. That's a big.
Yeah, but only because I
comparison.
have the capability to, right? Like,
Right, you keep saying that.
yeah,
but, like,
if I was a
do
different
you?
person, I mean, I think
I know you do with clout. I'm with
Mm-hmm.
views. I'm saying, do you, Steven the human?
there's only one way to know, right?
Yeah, amen. I love it. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
that's
try.
true.
It could be that I try and I fail. I'm like, okay, this, like, back to League of Legends. We're going for Diamond 1, baby, okay? All this shit. Maybe, who knows? Yeah. But like obviously, you know, it's always said a million times and everybody knows to be true. Like, you know, it's better to try and fail than to not try at all and wonder what if, right?
100.
Yeah.
Totally. No,
Dead ass.
my hustle brain is like, let's go, baby. Let's
Exactly.
go try it. No, you have to. It's going to be very exciting. I really, really hope it works out. I think you said you're going to do like a podcast or something with Kyla with Erudite.
Yeah, I'm working on that. She's flying down with her husband in a day or two. We're going to do the fresh and fit thing. I'm going on No Jumper, I think tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or something.
Fun. Okay, great.
And then I'm doing a Change My Mind event next month between 2 or 3 Texas college campuses. So that'll be fun. When I know that for sure, I'll advertise that so people can come and kill me or something, whatever they want to do in real life. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, perfect. No Jumper. That's going to be interesting. I haven't seen much of them, but I know obviously who they are. See, different bubbles. Like they're very famous, quote unquote, but like I don't really fuck with outside of the internet too much. But I know, is that Adam? Is that his name? Maybe.
Adam from No Jumper, yes.
Yeah, him. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome.
All right, great talk. Good
Yeah.
times.
Have fun, be careful. Okay?
All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you later, bye.
Bye.